Now before we start guys, I want to thank this video sponsor Skillshare, but more on that later. First we need to talk about this, even if it will surprise very few of you. I say that because it's important to let the country know the government is selling out Brits, all while ministers put policies in place that are literally destroying their livelihoods as we speak. Yep, Boris to take back control and levelling up Britain guy is desperate for 30,000 migrants to come over here and take jobs. You know, the jobs that people in this country will actually need. I guess that is what he meant by building back better, importing more workers while laughing in our faces every day. But some who have watched the channel for a while will remember me covering a similar story last year, which actually tells me this is not just on Boris Johnson's head. There are of course the large farm companies out there who will only employ foreign workers because they can pay them less through subsidised accommodation, but last year at least Boris made it seem like he wanted these jobs for British workers. This year he has clearly been that idea along with any libertarian feelings he claimed to have before now. Instead he went straight to importing more people into the UK because the 1,000 or more people crossing the channel a week is not enough for this tosspot. Oh, and yeah, these workers here get to enter Britain quarantine-free because they're better than you in the government's eyes. You must never forget that, of course. But Breitbart have picked up on this story, so let's take a quick look at what they had to say. I doubt the BBC have even bothered. In fact, when I looked, I couldn't actually see anything about it. It could be there now, but it doesn't really matter. This sort of thing here should be up on the BBC News at 9, 10, 12, 1, 3, 4, 6, every single one at the end of the day. The government during an economic crisis is literally selling out the people as we speak. It says Boris Johnson's government is scrapping the Pick for Britain drive for British farm workers and increasing migrant recruitment to 30,000, with hundreds to come from the likes of Belarus and the Russian Federation. Which in all honesty, it doesn't even matter where the hell they're coming from. They shouldn't be coming from anywhere. There's going to be 30,000 people in this country who can do them jobs. Of course, that's not just on the government, it's also on the companies themselves. But the government at the end of the day surely has a responsibility to put the people of this country first, or at least you would think they would. As we know, that's not the way it's often done at this point. Now, before I go into that, I want to talk about Skillshare, who are today's video sponsor. Skillshare is, after all, how I learned to use Premiere Pro when I started my own YouTube channel, with me still learning new skills, tips and tricks in video production now. I myself started with classes from Daniel Scott, whose Adobe Premiere Pro CC Essentials class helped me figure out how to use video editing software that I have to admit I didn't have a clue how to use beforehand. In all honesty, I would have struggled to ever make content without it, because Windows Movie Maker was beyond me back in early 2019. Thankfully though, if video editing or content creation is not your thing, Skillshare has classes in topics ranging from animation and graphic design to web development, crafts and plenty more in between. And with the Skillshare Premium membership allowing you access to as many classes as you like completely ad-free, the option to gain new skills or knowledge is available whenever you need it, and new premium classes are launching all the time. But what's more, the first 1,000 subscribers to click on the link in the video description will get a free trial of premium membership to join the community and explore the thousands of classes on offer to your heart's content. So once again, a big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, but now let's get back to it. It says here, with hundreds of thousands out of work or furloughed on reduced pay across the country, the government made a great show of inviting people to come into the fields, with the Queen's heir, Prince Charles, backing the scheme in a public message which recalled the wartime land army. Tens of thousands of Britons answered the call, but few in the end were actually recruited by bosses. This, as you might know, is something I actually covered at the time. As is this next part here that says with the Tories making arrangements for them to fly the migrants on crowded aircraft despite the pandemic to do the work as usual, something like I said I also covered back at the time, which is of course Boris selling us out. As it says here, with the Grocer reporting that as few as 5 to 11% of picking jobs were actually filled by Britons last year. The Tories have quietly binned the scheme and are instead increasing the number of migrants being flown in to some 30,000 as it said earlier, with cheap workers being recruited to come quarantine-free to the UK, not just from low-wage EU member states such as Romania and Bulgaria, but even the likes of Belarus and Russia, according to the Telegraph, who are actually more interested in the fact that these are coming from apparent dictatorships rather than the fact that British jobs are being sold out so foreign workers can come here and do it on the cheap. It says the increased cheap foreign labour drive, which comes as many Great Britons remain out of work, has been blamed by some on Britain's supposed distaste for agricultural labour, despite such seasonal labour having been commonplace in the country well within living memory. But reports while Pick for Britain was still active indicate that this too lazy stereotype is inaccurate, something I also covered at the time last year. While some people ain't gonna want to work on the farm, there is at the end of the day many people who will. Britons are not lazy, as the media and many of these other shitweasels will often point out. That is just a load of bollocks, as I said. It says here, some would-be farm workers, for example, found that agri-businesses were telling British hopefuls they will need to speak Romanian and or Bulgarian fluently in order to fill these positions. And the government's Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs listed requirements that workers must live on site, even if they live nearby to the farms. Moves that led some to accuse Pick for Britain as having been designed to fail, which of course it probably fucking was. At the end of the day, we know at this point that the Pick for Britain campaign was designed to fail because we know these businesses are much more geared up to having migrants come over and do it than they are locals come round and do the work for them. In fact, as I said at the beginning, they do that because in the end it actually saves them money. They can literally charge rent for these people living on site, as where you're not going to be able to do that with a British farm worker, are you? It goes on here though, yet again, employers say jump and the government responds with how high, said Alf Mehmet, chairman of the Migration Watch UK think tank, of the latest increase in agricultural migrant workers. Why not pay a bit more, improve conditions and look locally before targeting the recruitment of those desperate to flee dictatorial countries like Belarus, he suggested. Which, let's be honest, is kind of common sense, and never mind before targeting anywhere else, it should just be look locally as a whole. He goes on, despite the Vote Leave campaign which Boris Johnson fronted in 2016 running in large part on a platform of immigration control, one of the first things he did on becoming Prime Minister was drop the Tories' long-standing but never met and likely insincere pledge to reduce net immigration from the hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands. Oh, you can guarantee it was fucking insincere. That shit was never going to happen, let's be honest here. You had hope for about 5 minutes that it would, but in all honesty, Boris Johnson is no different to any of the other snivelling shitweasels that have come before him. It says he has also presided over a significant rise in illegal immigration, a dramatic fall in deportation of illegal aliens and foreign criminals, and created many new immigration routes to Britain at the same time as opening a pathway to citizenship for millions of Hong Kongers. Something once again that is absolutely spot on. At the end of the day, reducing immigration was a pipe dream. He has fucking increased it tenfold at this point. But once again, guys, it's got to be said that the government and system as it stands is literally just pissing in the British people's pocket and telling them it's raining. As a matter of fact, there's about 10 of them pissing in each of your pockets as we speak.